Okay, at this time, Mr. Dunklow, please confirm that we have a quorum.
I believe we do.
Okay, thank you. The last meeting of the subcabinet was in November. The November meeting was recorded, and therefore it is available on the MCSS website. As such, there is no need to have review minutes for this meeting, for minutes to be approved. And with that, does anyone have any additions for this meeting? Okay, seeing none, I would like to go ahead and proceed with the agenda, starting with the Maryland Center for School Safety. I think you're muted, Kate.
Oh.
There we go.
That.
Yes.
Excellent.
Now.
So I apologize. I was just on a Google Meet, so I have to switch mics when I do that. Hey, good morning. Thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate you being here. Dr. Lawson, it's lovely to see you. I hope everybody enjoyed the game last night and didn't stay up too late. But let's get started. So I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Director Pignataro, who's going to go through an overview of where MCSS started up until basically he's going to cover the where we were section.
Good morning, everybody. The Center, MCSS, was established in 2013 under Chapter 372 after the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Connecticut. At that time, it had an independent unit. We were an independent unit under state government, at that time assigned under the Maryland State Police. Executive director was Mr. Clark at the time. We had a governing board of various entities above us to give direction. The purpose of developing interagency collaboration of school safety with all our local education partners and a repository of school safety best practices and resources. And at that time, the center had an annual budget of $500,000. In 2015, we added one extra position, and that position was a training administrator to provide training and support to the local education agencies for emergency preparedness and planning. Cursor here. Unfortunately, after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas incident in Florida in 2018 and the tragic incident in Great Mills High School here in St. Mary's County in March of 2018, the legislature created the Safe to Learn Act under Chapter 30. What that did for the Maryland Center for School Safety is it increased the budget and staffing. It gave mandates for training of school resource officers, school security employees, and school safety coordinators. And it gave us definitions of all of those, which was never done before. It provided grant funds for school safety efforts, defined the MCSS as an independent agency now moved under the Maryland State Department of Education, and established a subcabinet, yourselves, an advisory board to assist you with an expanded membership. And the impact on the local education agencies, now they have to produce annual data submission for required reports. They have to provide emergency plans and annual summaries on those plans. They had to designate a school safety coordinator and a mental health coordinator, and it defined other preparedness efforts that they had to undertake. The center by law is required to be housed at the Maryland Coordination and Analysis Center, also commonly referred to as MCAC, and at the office where I'm sitting at Bowie State University. Additionally, the center has regional personnel, and we've established offices, working spaces at various venues in Western Maryland, Eastern Maryland, Northern Maryland, and the National Capital Region. Any questions?
All right, so that's a little background on where we came from. So let's talk a little bit about where we are now. Next slide. Thank you. So from a governance structure perspective, the Safe to Learn Act established a new governing board for the Maryland Center for School Safety, and that's the School Safety Subcabinet, this group. So it's a group of 6 individuals. So it's the superintendent of the Department of Education, the superintendent of the Maryland State Police, the Secretary of Disabilities, the Secretary of Health, and the executive director of the Interagency Commission on Public School Construction, as well as the Attorney General's office. And all of those individuals are eligible to have designees that represent them. So we do, like we do today, have Dr. Lawson. We from time to time have designees that represent the department heads. The advisory board. So the advisory board is a board of 24 different members. They cross public and private school representatives. They also include a student. They include law enforcement representatives. They include several state agency representatives and department heads, including juvenile services and human services. The advisory board makes recommendations to the subcabinet at the subcabinet's request. They also support MCSS with various initiatives we have, identifying any best practices and providing any advice or recommendation for our programs as we make implementation efforts. The School Safety Subcabinet, although is not in the Safe to Learn Act, the Student Focus Group is a group that was established by MCSS back in 2020. So there are 19 individuals. Originally, we are now at, I think it's 37 individuals. And those students provide us, again, public and private school students provide us with their student perspective on many of our initiatives at MCSS. And then finally, we have the Maryland Center for School Safety. So our agency is tasked with a lot of responsibilities in the read-ahead materials you received. There's a pretty detailed list of all the responsibilities of the subcabinet, MCSS, as well as our local education agencies. And our job is to provide assistance to you all, as well as implement any of your priorities. Next slide. So the School Safety Subcabinet. The School Safety Subcabinet has some very specific responsibilities. In your read-ahead materials, we're looking at pages 4 through 6. So you have administrative responsibilities. You have regulatory responsibilities. So there are currently 5 regulations in COMAR that are the School Safety Subcabinet regulations. There are 2 of those regulations that are currently under revision and out for public comment. The subcabinet was required in 2018 to develop a model behavioral threat assessment team policy. They did that. That was completed in 2018. The subcabinet was also mandated to develop a behavioral health services gap analysis report. That report was completed in 2018. There were recommendations. There's a link to both of those reports in your read-ahead materials, and the gap analysis report has some recommendations on page 35, and that was developed by the Department of Health. Every year, MCSS supports the subcabinet with the development of their annual report. So we provide a draft report to the subcabinet for review and approval in fall so that it can be submitted in December. And finally, the subcabinet is responsible for grant distribution. So there's one grant, the Safe Schools Fund, which has a grant specific to public schools for school safety efforts. It also has funding for school resource officers and adequate coverage, and both of those are the responsibility of the School Safety Subcabinet. Next slide. So for those of you that haven't joined us before, this is the Maryland Center for School Safety as of today. So we are 15 members strong. We have a really incredible team. I don't know how many of you had an opportunity to meet everyone on the team, but we really do have a fantastic group of individuals with different experiences and different backgrounds that really come to this challenge that we face in school safety from different viewpoints and work collaboratively together with each other and with our school safety partners statewide to hopefully work towards solutions in several of the issues we have related to school safety. So the responsibilities of MCSS. So administratively, we support the school safety subcabinet in all of your efforts. We also support the advisory board. So we provide staff support and resources to your work groups so that you can focus on getting your jobs and work done. I'll talk a little bit about our training and certification. I'll talk about our data collection and reporting. I'll also talk about our anonymous reporting system, grant administration, preparedness training and technical assistance that we provide, as well as our statewide coordination. And you can find all of this on pages 7 through 9 and 13 and 14. So first off, the Safe to Learn Act required that MCSS develop and deliver a model and a uniform training for all school resource officers and security employees in the state. So the original curriculum was developed in 2019. MCSS worked with a cross-section of subject matter experts to put the curriculum together. That curriculum was approved originally in 2019 and delivered to almost 1,000 individuals between April of 2019 and the end of August in 2019. So a really incredible effort by the training and certification team at MCSS, and really everyone at MCSS lended a hand in the delivery of that. Many classroom sessions throughout that 2019 summer. In 2020, when the schools closed due to the pandemic, MCSS had to figure out a way to deliver training virtually, which we had not done. So all of the training that was developed in 2019 had to be moved online, which we did. And they did a fantastic job of continuing to deliver SRO and school security employee training throughout the pandemic. In 2021, we realized that the training curriculum as developed was not sufficient, that there were gaps, that there were areas that needed to be expanded. So in 2022, late 2021 and 2022, we updated all of our training and expanded that training and had that training reapproved in 2022. We started delivering it. And as of this year, since 2019, we've trained over 600 school resource officers and over 800 school security employees. So again, just an incredible effort by the training and certification staff, which we could not have done without the help and assistance of many subject matter experts over the last 4 years. Next slide. We do various data collection from our local school systems, as well as reporting, both by the center, as well as reporting of data that we've collected. So the key pieces of data that we collect is every year, we collect the SRO adequate coverage report. So this is a report that tells us how many SROs there are in the state. So we know how many individuals we have to train. But it also tells us out of the 1,400 plus public schools in the state, how many of those schools have an assigned school resource officer. And the number is not as high as you think. So there are less than 300 schools in the state that have an assigned school resource officer. But there are about 427 because some schools have more than one SRO, or an SRO may not be assigned full-time to a school. For school security employees, we have 803 in the state right now for this school year. The other report that we collect from our local education agencies as well as law enforcement partners is use of force incidents between a school resource officer and a student, or a school security employee and a student during the school day. And so this report is submitted every year. All of these reports are on our website. The other report we do is we collect notification of critical life-threatening incidents that occur on school grounds during the school day. And I'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to the responsibilities of the local education agencies. And then I mentioned the annual report. So that's a report where we, for the subcabinet, draft and include all of the good work that our team is doing, as well as the good work of the subcabinet, the advisory board, and the student focus group. Next slide. So MCSS also administers Safe Schools Maryland. So for any of you who are new to us watching today, Safe Schools Maryland is a statewide anonymous reporting system. So it allows students, parents, school staff, community members to report school safety concerns, whether that's about a school or a particular individual. It was established in October of 2018, so it has been going strong since. It supports every public school in the state, so all 1,400 and plus public schools in the state participate in Safe Schools Maryland. We also have approximately 200 private schools that participate, although anyone who uses the system can submit a tip, and we will get it routed to we will find contacts even if they're not in our system for the appropriate school. Next slide. So in addition to the grants that are required by the School Safety Subcabinet to administer, including the SRO Adequate Coverage Grant and the Safe Schools Fund Grant, which are both eligible, public schools are both eligible for, MCSS also administers the Hate Crimes Grant, which is available for public and non-public schools. And then through a memorandum of understanding with the Interagency Commission on Public School Construction, or the IAC, we also administer the School Safety Grant Program, as well as the non-public School Security Improvement Grant. So we've been administering both of these for the last couple of fiscal years. And then additionally, so we are mandated to ensure coordination, collaboration, develop best practices and guidance documents. And so we hold monthly conference calls with all the school security, school resource officers in the state, with the school safety coordinators in the state, with the behavioral health services coordinators in the state. And we have a call with our private and non-public special education facilities every year, or every month, excuse me. And then additionally, we have once a month a professional development call where we bring everybody together and we provide some sort of best practice guidance or training to the school safety community. And then additionally, every single year we host the summer conference. We hope all of you will consider attending this year, this members of the subcabinet. This year it's July 19th and 20th. It's down at Turf Valley in Ellicott City. So we hope you'll consider attending. And if you can, we'd love for you to provide any opening comments that you would like at the conference this summer. So we hope to see you there. Next slide.
Kate, I
Your
think
mic
you're
is not
muted.
working.
Yeah, you're muted again.
As you see here, the local education agencies are all the jurisdictions represented here. We have broken down the state into different regions. The Western region encompasses Garrett, Allegheny, Washington, and Frederick counties. The Central region, Carroll, Howard, and Montgomery. The Northern region encompasses Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Harford County, and Cecil County. The Upper Shore encompasses Anne Arundel County, Kent County, Queen Anne's County, and Caroline counties. The Southern region is Prince George's, Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's counties. And the Lower Shore is Talbot, Dorchester, Wycomico, Somerset, and Worcester counties. The local education agency responsibilities, they're required to designate a behavioral health services coordinator and a school safety coordinator, conduct school safety facility assessments, develop emergency plans, conduct preparedness activities, and conduct after-action reviews. They're required to submit to the Maryland Center for School Safety a summary of their school safety assessments, the emergency plan performance, emergency plan updates, after-action reports, use of force data, and SRO adequate coverage data. Where we're going. The student focus group is evaluating their current program. They're reviewing new applications at this moment, and they're setting goals and objectives for next year. And that's reference page 3 in your handout. The advisory board are addressing the 2022 recommendations. They're guiding the initiatives, and they're providing recommendations. And that will be in page 4 of your reference material. The school safety subcabinet, yourselves, they set out the priorities. They're administering new and existing school safety grants, and they're highlighting initiatives happening at the state and local level. Ourselves, refining local education agency guidance. We're expanding our emergency preparedness training. We're evaluating and refining our programs consistently, and we're convening our annual school safety conference. 2023 legislative session. Key dates, February 6th was the deadline for Senate bills to be introduced to guarantee a committee hearing. February 10 was the deadline for House bills to be introduced to guarantee a committee hearing. March 20th is the crossover date for bills, and April 10 is sign and die. The budget hearings for MCSS, February 15th, we're with MSDE headquarters, the hearings at the House Education Economic Subdevelopment Committee. And on February 16th, the Senate Education Business Administration Subcommittee. House Bill 203. Kim, do you want to come up on this one?
Hey, Dino,
Yes.
I am now on Jessica's mic.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So my entire machine just crashed. So I apologize to everyone, but thank Dino for covering for the last couple of minutes. So let's talk a little bit about some of the bills that we've seen. So there are quite a few in this session, as Dino mentioned. There's a couple of thousand that have already dropped. But I will go through ones that I think have a nexus to either the subcabinet, our office, or school safety generally. So we'll start with House Bill 203. So this is a bill that was originally introduced in 2021, again in 2022. It requires MCSS to be added to and notified of reportable offenses by law enforcement agencies. The, excuse me, the challenge with this particular piece of legislation for us is we currently do not collect personally identifiable information, and this would require us to do that. But it, again, was submitted in 2021 and 2022 and did not have any movement. So I don't really anticipate much change for this year. House Bill 515, so this is related to active shooter drills. So there is a portion of the Safe to Learn Act statute, which is 7-1509, which talks about active shooter drills. So of interest to the subcabinet, House Bill 515, as it is currently drafted, replaces bill language of may with shall regarding the requirement for the department to collaborate with the subcabinet in adopting school shooter drill regulations. Why that's important? There are currently no regulations that require a quote active shooter drill. There is regulation that requires lockdown drills, which is typically what we think of as the action, one of the actions that may be taken during an active shooter drill. But there is no requirement for or regulation for timing on active shooter drills. For MCSS, this bill would require us to collect data from local education agencies. It would require us to work with an institute of higher education on the effectiveness of active shooter drills. It's important to note that that comes with no funding added to it. And it requires the department to consult with MCSS. And when I say department, I mean the Department of Education on the development of model content for safe gun storage. And then for the LEAs, except for voluntary drills conducted after hours, right, for potentially law enforcement or first responders to do tactical training, it prohibits loud sounds that simulate gunfire or actors role-playing as shooters or victims. So it would prohibit education agencies from conducting drills during the school day that simulate a real-world event. It requires notification of parents before and after the drill. It requires identification of individuals that may require mental health resources due to possible trauma suffered from the drill, and requires the collection of feedback on the effectiveness and impact of the drills, which then has to be submitted to MCSS. And that is what will inform the study that we are supposed to work with the Institute of Higher Education on. I'll pause just for a minute on these two. Alan, did I miss anything on these first two?
No, you did great.
Right, excellent. Next slide. Oh, we have it. So Senate Bill 799 is a cyber safety guide. Next slide. So this would task the Department of Education, the Behavioral Health Administration, MCSS, and DO-IT, Department of Information Technology, to jointly develop a cyber safety guide. So this would be guidance for students, parents, and school staff in the pre-K through 12 setting on safe internet, safe social media usage, and technology usage. It would require the department and MCSS to have this made available on our websites prior to the start of the 24-25 school year. Bill 811. So this, I'm not going to get into a lot of details about this specific one. I'm just going to touch on one piece of Senate Bill 811, which would require MCSS to update school law portions of our SRO training, because the bill would require or not allow, let me say it that way, SROs from unilaterally enforcing discipline-related school policies, and it would not allow school administrators or school safety coordinators from directing SROs to enforce discipline in schools. House Bill 738. So this bill was introduced in 2022, and pretty minor impact to everyone. It basically increases the requirement for the governor's allocation for SROs and adequate coverage from 10 million to 20 million beginning in fiscal year 25. So currently the governor is mandated by the law to include 10 million in their annual budget. This one is the most interesting. This is the establishment of an entirely new program or would establish an entirely new program to be administered by our office. So Senate Bill 677. Next slide. It requires us to work with the Maryland 911 board. So just so everyone's aware, the 911 board is now housed within the Maryland Department of Emergency Management. It requires us to work together to establish a statewide emergency notification program. The most concerning about this is the timeline that's established or included in the bill, and that would require us to procure and implement a single panic button event system technology platform to be used in every public school by September of this year. So not only work to identify what technology or system we might want to attempt to procure, but also procure it, implement it in every school, and have it all done and in place by September. It does provide 4.5 million in the first year and $1 million every year after that. The bill requires LEAs to share their floor plans, their emergency plans, and their geolocation addresses. I will note that MCSS already has all of their emergency plans and geolocation addresses. So it would just require that they share their floor plans. So that one, I'm going to pause just for a moment and ask if there are any specific questions related to any of the pieces of legislation that we went through, or if any of the subcabinet members have a particular piece of legislation they have a question about or would like more information about.
So Lieutenant Colonel Brady, I don't have any, thank you.
Any other subcabinet members have any questions? Okay. Okay, not hearing any more. Kate, thank you so much for that information. I'd like to thank you and your team. It was very informative, so thank you.
You're very welcome.
We do have two items for two subcabinet items. First of all, Mr. Chaudhary would like to ask 3 or 4 members to volunteer to serve on the MCSS Executive Director Evaluation Subcommittee. The School Safety Subcommittee serves as the governing board for MCSS, and as such, we need 3 or 4 cabinet members to serve on the subcommittee that will work with Director Bryan to develop goals, processes, and an evaluation instrument to use in the evaluation of the MCSS Executive Director. The task is very simple. Make sure that the evaluation happens and to develop a template for the evaluation. And at that, I would like to ask for 3 or 4 volunteers, please.
I'll volunteer.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Lawson, I will also volunteer.
Thank you so much, Secretary Beatty. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Yes, ma'am. And do we have one more, please?
This is Lieutenant Colonel Brady. I'm not sure if I can be heard.
Yes, you can, ma'am.
Oh, great. State Police will volunteer.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank all 3 of you very much for serving on the committee. And the second thing is that we are looking for ideas and suggestions for future meetings. We would like to add the future suggestion and ideas as a standing agenda item. And what it will do is basically showcase and highlight local and state school safety programs. It would be a spotlight on local and state safety. And you may know of some things of interest that you could share with us. We would definitely reach out and gather additional information once you have shared your suggestions. It could be anything like initiatives that you're aware of at the local and state level, or if you have ideas following any meeting that we have. You know, we're looking for best practices or items that are occurring. And if you know anything, we would certainly appreciate if you would let us know. Again, we're looking for best practices on the ground for safety. Okay, and with that, our next meeting, it will be held on Monday, May 8th. It will be in a hybrid format. And if there is not anything else, I would like to have a motion to adjourn, please.
It's Lieutenant Colonel Brady. I'll make the first motion to adjourn.
Lieutenant Colonel, thank you so much for making the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, thank you, Carol. Second by Secretary Beatty. All in favor? Could I get you to say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And with that, I would like to thank all of you for your presence here today. Certainly, this is definitely a worthwhile endeavor. And I do appreciate Kate once again and your team. So thank you very much. And I hope all of you have a great day.